Hello everyone, welcome to another Alpha Notes video. Today we're going to be learning about angles and degree measure. The first thing we need to have an understanding of is a graph. A graph is divided into 4 sections. These sections are called quadrants. This quadrant here is known as quadrant 1. This one is known as quadrant 2. This one here is known as quadrant 3, and this one here is known as quadrant 4. Each quadrant is equivalent to 90 degrees. Keep in mind that when you are going to be measuring angles, you always start on the x-axis on the positive side. So our starting point is always going to be known as 1, 0. If we were to go from our starting point and draw a line up to the y-axis at point 0, 1, this would make a 90-degree angle. If we were to go back to our starting point at 1, 0 and draw a line going all the way across to point -1, 0, this would make a 180-degree angle. As you can see, a pattern is starting to form. Each leg of the graph or side of a quadrant is going to be 90 degrees more than the one prior to it. So if we return to our starting point here and go all the way around to point 0, -1, this will make a 270-degree angle. Similarly, if we were to return to our starting point and go all the way around, making a complete circle, this would be known as 360 degrees, or a full circle. You've noticed that I've been drawing the angles going in an anti-clockwise direction. If we are trying to find a positive angle, we will go in this direction. However, if we're trying to find a negative angle, we will go in the opposite direction, or also known as clockwise. So let's try this on a graph. If we were to start at our usual starting place and go to point 0, -1 in a clockwise direction, this would be equivalent to -90 degrees. Similarly, if we were to start at our starting point and go all the way over here, this would be known as -180 degrees. And if we were to start at our starting point one last time and go in a clockwise direction all the way to this y-axis over here, this would be known as -270 degrees. Please keep in mind that all angle measurements are going to be given in degrees. Alright, let's go ahead and try to solve these problems that you can see on the screen. So the first one says 135 degrees. So let's go ahead and draw that. I know that from my starting point to here is 90 degrees. 135 minus 90 equals 45. So I know I have 45 degrees more to go, which will be halfway in between the second quadrant. So that would be my angle for A. Now let's draw my angle for B. This is telling me -210 degrees. I know from my starting point over to here is -180 degrees. 210 minus 180 equals 30. So I know that the rest of my angle is 1/3 through this next quadrant, which would be right here. Now let's solve the other problems. This one says 720 degrees. Let's first draw our graph. I know that 360 degrees is a full circle, so I can go ahead and draw that first. 720 minus 360 equals another 360. So I'm going to go back to my starting point and go all the way around one more time. So this is what my graph would look like for letter A. For letter B, it tells us negative 405 degrees. To make a negative degree, you need to go the clockwise direction. So I'm going to start at my starting point and go all the way around once. That is 360 degrees. 405 minus 360 equals 45. So I know I have 45 degrees more to go. 45 degrees is halfway through a quadrant. So I will just go up until here. And that is what your graph will look like for these two problems. Now we are going to look at if we were given a problem that has a fraction. Look at this problem. We need to transform this fraction into degrees so we can sketch it on our graph. Since the problem says clockwise rotation, we know that the angle is going to be negative. Since we know that one clockwise rotation is negative 360 degrees, we're going to multiply our fraction by negative 360. So 2/5 times negative 360. 2 times negative 360 equals negative 720. 5 times 1 equals 5. Negative 720 divided by 5 equals negative 144. So we know that our measure is negative 144 degrees. Now all that is left is to sketch it. I know from my starting point to here is negative 90 degrees. 144 minus 90 equals 54. So we're going to go a little over halfway. The last thing we are going to learn today is how to convert numbers that are given to us in minute form over to decimal form. When using minute form, let's picture a clock. One rotation of the clock, which is 360 degrees, is equivalent to an hour. Let's look at this problem. The number with the degree symbol is going to be the number before the decimal point in our answer. In this case, 45 is that number. The number next to the apostrophe symbol is the minutes. In our problem, this number is 18. The number next to the quotation symbol is known as seconds. In our problem, this number is 20. First, we are going to convert our minutes number, which is 18. Since there are 60 minutes in an hour, we will divide 18 by 60. "18 divided by 60 equals 0.3. Our next number is the second number. This number is 20. Since we know that there are 3,600 seconds in an hour, we are going to divide 20 by 3,600. The answer to this fraction is 0.006. However, since our previous answer, 0.3, is in the 10th place, we want our next answer to be in the 100th place. So we're going to round 0.006 to 0.1. We are now going to add up our numbers. So first we have 45. Next we converted this 18 here into a 0.3, so we're going to have 45.3, and then our 20 we converted into a 0.1, so we're going to have a 1. So our answer is going to be 45.31. Let's try another problem on the screen. Here I have 15 degrees and 30 minutes. So since 15 already has a degree sign, that number is going to be on the left side of the decimal point. Since we know that there are 60 minutes in an hour, and here we have 30 minutes, we're going to do 30 divided by 60 to find out what decimal this comes out to. As we know, this comes out to 0.5. So our answer is going to be 15.5. Now, if we wanted to convert something in degrees to minutes form, we would do this. Let's look at this example. 72 is the number before the decimal point, so we are going to leave it. Like we did in the previous example, we know that the number before the decimal point is always going to be the number with a degree sign. Now we're going to take our decimal part of the number, which is 0.658, and multiply it by 60. Before we divided it by 60, but now we are multiplying it because we're returning to the minute form. So 0.658 times 60 equals 34.08. Since 34 is the number before the decimal point, we know that we already have 72 degrees, 34 minutes, and now we're going to find out how many seconds based off of our 0.8. We're now going to take the remaining 0.08 and multiply it by 60, not 3,600. We're doing this because we already multiplied the other 60 in the previous step. 0.08 times another 60 comes out to 4.8. Since we're only dealing with hours, minutes, and seconds, we're going to round our answer up to 5. So our final answer is going to be 72 degrees, 34 minutes, and 5 seconds. For our final problem today, we're going to be converting the number 25.4 degrees into minutes form. So let's start off by figuring out which number is before the decimal point. This number is 25, so we know that the first part of our answer is going to be 25 degrees. Now we're going to take the 0.4 and multiply it by 60 so we can transform it into minutes form. 0.4 times 60 equals 24. So we know our answer is going to be 25 degrees and 24 minutes. Now if we had decimal points coming after this 24, then we would continue going so we could figure out the seconds and milliseconds and so on, depending on how detailed you would like to be. Well, thank you so much for tuning in for this Alpha Notes tutorial video. I hope you have learned a lot, and I hope this has helped you expand your knowledge of angles and degree measures. I hope to see you in the next video.